Hi everyone, I am Giovanni Dennis, one of 14 of the Climate Tracker's Caribbean Climate Justice Journalism Fellows. I'm based in Jamaica and I've been working on a story about climate change and crocodiles. Yes, it's not something we normally think about. I did not think about it as well until I spoke with experts and I was hearing some of what they're saying, and it has been an interesting story. So I got the idea in October 2024 when there was a sighting of a crocodile that was caught at the Salt River Mineral Bath in Clarendon. And so, I started doing my investigations, speaking to the relevant authorities, and realized that this is actually a thing. So even while doing the story, another crocodile was sighted. In fact, the crocodile came on a highway in St. Andrew, the Mandela Highway, and it was big, like over 10 feet, more than 10 feet. And a van flipped over the crocodile, injuring the passengers, the occupants of that vehicle, who were hospitalized. And that crocodile died. And yet again, while doing the story, this is about a 3-week span, another crocodile was caught by one of the experts I interviewed on a sidewalk in St. Thomas. So the idea of increased sightings of crocodiles is not just an idea, it's actually happening. And it's happening largely for two main reasons. One, the intense drought that Jamaica has been experiencing since in 2022 going over into 2023, Jamaica experienced its worst drought on record. The Agriculture Minister Floyd Green said this. And so what the increased drought is doing, according to the experts that I've been speaking with, is that it dries up the swamps, the areas where the crocodiles would normally live, their habitats. And so they're coming closer. The area is now constricted. They're coming closer to areas that are usually, used by humans. For example, a river. And it just makes sense. You can imagine, the extreme drought going on for 2-3 months. The swamps are dried up, so they're coming closer for multiple reasons, for food and literally for places to live. And so that's one reason that we will have increased sightings going forward, according to the experts. But then beyond that, there is also the extreme rainfall that we're experiencing. And so it doesn't even have to be a hurricane. A tropical depression, for example, with the intense rainfall will lead to the displacement. I mean, this is more known. Traditionally, the National Environment and Planning Agency, they will release notifications and releases to the public during a hurricane or heavy rainfall to say, expect increased sightings of crocodiles, don't harm them, report it to the authorities for them to relocate them. But the tropical depression now and how intense they have been, they are displacing more crocodiles, and we are seeing more. And the experts are saying that we should expect to see a lot more of this going forward. And I just think that's something interesting that, we should be aware of. The National Environment and Planning Agency, along with other authorities, they are doing their part to increase public awareness about this thing. But it's something I just wanted to share with you.
We can start with your name, your title, and how you kind of got into the space of journalism.
Hi, my name is Giovanni Dennis. I'm a Jamaican journalist. I've been working as a journalist since 2011. I was a student journalist initially at New Start 93 FM while studying at Carmack. That's where I started. How I got into journalism? From a little me love chat. I was a chatterbox in primary school and high school. It's as simple as that. And I guess the older you get to kind of refine that and which career would best suit this chatterbox. I was always told to be a lawyer, but I kind of preferred journalism because of the diversity of it. And yeah, that's the best and most simple the simplest way I can think about how I became a journalist.
Interesting. And how you find the space now when compared to probably when you just start? Cause we know there's been for our space, as you mentioned, new media. Earlier before we start, the space changed a lot. Probably a lot of us when we were just coming out, or those who went to school for it, it was, or maybe when you just went into school, it was about traditional media, and things have shifted a little bit. So tell us a little bit about that for you, how that has been adjusting to that and that kind of thing. Even though you are a broadcast journalist, so there is a lot of new media in a sense in that as well.
I think even within the question, and I can see where you're directing me how to answer. You've alluded to it. There's media convergence. So, in the past, when I was studying, for example, I did my specialization in radio at Karamak. But now I do television. I also do online reporting, and I have written stuff that have gone in print. So I work across the platforms, and I think that's a way that's one example in terms of how media has changed. So no longer you have somebody who only does radio. I literally do both radio and TV. And beyond that, and just being like the traditional journalist getting the story for radio or TV, I also do camera work. I also do my own audio setup and my own lighting on a lot of my shoots. I was just awarded the Journalist of the Year for 2024 in November in Jamaica. And
Congrats.
Respect. For every single story that I did, all 5, I shot them. 4 of them I shot by myself entirely. And one of them I got some help in shooting. That was a documentary because I had started it from 2022 or 2021 before I had started doing, shooting by myself. But that is the kind of need in the present space. Everybody has a smartphone. It's easier to get the tools. You don't need that big old camera that you would have in the early 2000s or from the 1990s. That literally a smartphone, the quality on that is better than a lot of the cameras that were used in the past. So a lot of people now use their own stuff. Even this microphone on me right now, it's a wireless microphone connected to a phone, and most people have that nowadays. A lot of people are doing their own podcasts. A lot of people are recording the stuff, doing their own vlogs as well for Instagram, TikTok, or even on YouTube. And so that's how the space has changed, and we in traditional media have to adapt to that, and that's a lot of what I'm doing personally. I just completed a course in video production so I can improve how I film and record my own videos and audio as well, because it is what is required in the modern media landscape, because otherwise you'll get left behind. So to answer your question in a long-winded way, that's how the landscape has changed.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And we kind of have that kind of challenge in a sense, as journalists, because new media in a lot of ways, it almost because social media come with it, it almost feel to a lot of us who are more professional, it almost feel like something where is not for we in a sense, or we might force ourselves to feel that way, but it is something that we need to take up. And just like you said, it don't require this huge setup. I was talking to an ex-fellow trying to kind of like coach her through it, this assignment in a sense, and fellows tend to have this kind of anxiety about it because it seems like something where you have to have the big camera and you have to know how to, use Adobe Premiere and all of that. I mean, I say, just like what you mentioned earlier, you literally, like all of us have a phone, and it's just the way how you think about it, because if you're there out as not as a journalist but as a regular person, or even think about a regular person, they're out and something is happening that they think is interesting, or they think this is like news worthy in some kind of way, they're gonna pull out them phone and start record. So I think it's a similar approach that or a similar mindset that we have to kind of take to it, and just step into it and grow and evolve, because adapt is a good word as well, but you start you can start at a basic space and slowly develop the quality of what you're doing.
Absolutely.
You
And
know.
also, as you mentioned, some of us may feel that it's not a space for us. And again, I think it's the mindset and how we were trained. It's a kind of school of thought where we're coming from. But if you look at it, it it's how people are consuming content nowadays. It's as simple as that, So somebody take out the phone, so the smooth editing, for example, and the transition and not going from one headshot to the other headshot with the person are looking from this side to that side. Somebody take out them phone and cut and you see them. You can see the thing, for example, of a social media personality like a Dr. Berry, how he cuts his thing. It's not smoothed out like it used in the way that we were trained traditionally how to edit, for example. People don't care for that.
No,
It's
and
just
it's getting
literally
big
someone is
views.
putting a phone and in front of them and recording and they're speaking, and then some people gradually improve on the quality, but a lot of people don't because they don't have to, because people are looking at the person and the content and not so much how
It's
has
produced.
been edited,
Yeah.
or produced, so to use the right phrasing right there. How the quality of how it's produced, because people just want to consume something and they want to also feel closer and more connected with the person who they're speaking to. It's something I haven't necessarily adjusted fully to yet, but I'm aware of it and I'm also, I guess, more and more appreciating it. And it's conversations like these that also make it a little bit more real. And even in preparing for this assignment and doing the initial 2 minute that I'm saying,
Yeah.
it's a little bit different. And I think even in the instructions, it's a little bit more calmer, it's more relaxed, it's not as formal. And I guess in that way, you kind of connect more with people, and a different audience as well than those who traditionally consume news at 7 o'clock on TVJ or in any other media, or for read at 5 o'clock or midday. Somebody might sit on at midnight, they get up and decide to watch this podcast, and they sit and they'll consume it that way. And for them, it's more personal, more one-on-one, it's more connected, and that's how we kind of have to adjust based on the different platform that we're producing the content for.
Yeah, 100%. And I think even with social media, we have, and new media, we're in a situation where the traditional news sources that we have come to know and trust, we can find them on social media, and I think they maintain that trusted voice in a sense, and that professional voice that we also kind of look forward to trust the news that we're getting. But when you think about the individual and the fact that social media really is giving the space to individuals to kind of share stories, it's really about the stories. And when you think about TikTok, the videos that will go viral, it's just a man will pick up his phone and he might tell a story on the phone. And sometimes, and not sometimes, often is really the personality and the stories that people tune in for. And so I think it's a great opportunity for us. So that's why I might try to, encourage and even give this task, because to be honest, I could have just interview and just put out the podcast. That'd be an easier time for me. But I think it may try to encourage us, because I think it's a great opportunity for journalists to step into that space and become personalities. You know what I mean? Even outside of their professional, whatever news platforms I work for, because I freelance as well. I write for a couple publications. A lot of them abroad. Some of it is science reporting, and it's very like, them need the source, them need the data statistics, like them not look on nothing else. You can't editorialize with those people. They care about your opinions. But outside of that type of work, like I say, I think it's a massive opportunity for us as journalists to use our personalities to attract an audience and to build an audience and to share stories that way
I think
as well.
a lot of people are also very apprehensive with that as well, myself included, to be completely honest. But I guess as time goes on and more conversations like this happens, people gradually open up and be more comfortable to venture into the space. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It is a space, and as I say, a lot of traditional media have to now be catching up too, where a lot of the influencers, are heading. A lot of personalities as well. I think about in Jamaica, Allende Phillips, Terry Carrell, people who have branched out and doing their own thing, as well as other less popular names. You think about Tommy Chin and Wayne
Wayne
Marshall,
Marshall.
who they started with their YouTube stuff and they're now in the traditional media space and
Mm.
see them as well. So it really is where the world is heading now, and a lot of people are adapting and adjusting. A lot of organizations, I should say, are adapting and adjusting to that, and also catching on with the personalities in that way.
Mm.
They kind of use them. I think about Tammy Chin also hosting a show
Mm.
on CVM. It's the
Yeah.
same kind of thing, and a lot of young people as well on TV there, sir. That's
I was.
I was, I didn't want to be stung by those. If you see that I wasn't losing my brain, I was kind of protecting myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are adjusting and catching on to where the space is going. And yeah, as I mentioned, a lot of media houses are catching on. They have the social media pages as well, because there's also still a place for accuracy,
Mm.
fact, and there is still a space for the quality of traditional reporting and also the principles of traditional reporting, because with the new media and everybody having access to just a smartphone that they can speak anything, there are people with agenda who sometimes spread false narratives,
Mhm.
and that's where the traditional media houses come in to kind of put a little bit of, as I mentioned, to borrow your word, authority and truth to
Mm.
what is being said in this space. And that's where some when all else fails, people will still go on the Jamaica Gleaner, the Jamaica Observer, TVJ or a CVM or a IRFM. They kind of say, hey, what's happening right here? Because
Yeah.
we're not sure if and it is not true until we see it on
Come from
TVJ or
this, yeah.
CVM or the Gleaner or the Observer. So that authoritative voice of the traditional media house is still very much relevant in this space.
Yeah, 100%. Um, so let's talk a little bit about your story. I mean, outside of just agreeing again with what you're saying, and I think that I understand too. Even the apprehensiveness of, for me personally, is not easy. You know, me not being able to put like the stuff for me I put myself on the screen is like is more. It's not even journalism. It's more so just talk about films on like or that type of stuff. The stuff when we really are put out online, me not in it. So and I think there's a way for like kind of do both in a way. And ease into it. Cause me kind of ease into it. Like my face not on my biggest platform. Like, you know what I mean? Because it is definitely, I understand where the nerves come from. But yeah, let's go into a little bit about your story. What inspired you to focus on the intersection of climate change and wildlife, specifically crocodiles, in your reporting?
So I am from Mitchelton, Clarendon, and I think I saw something on somebody's status. All right, it's got a message that a crocodile was caught, like a 10-foot crocodile was caught, or 7-foot crocodile was caught at Salt River. That's a mineral bath near Clarendon. Sorry, near Mitchelton and Clarendon, where I'm from. It's like a mile from the community where I grew up.
Mm.
So I was already interested in there. Salt River is somewhere I go to swim regularly when I take a little break or on a weekend with my family. So when me hear say I catch crocodile down there, it was the first time this was happening. I said, well, let me make a check. So I decided to do the story to say, hey, a crocodile was caught here, and the experts want to put up a sign to say, hey, warn people who are coming to the mineral bath that it's a crocodile habitat and they may
See
encounter
them.
crocodiles, but that the vendors who use the area don't want any signs to go up, and that's been an issue. I said, hold on. So that was the basis on which I was doing the story to pretty much say, okay, some vendors are being stubborn
Mm.
and they're blocking the authorities of erecting signs there. But then when I was speaking with the people from the Caribbean Coastal Area Management Foundation, that's essentially the authority in the area that captures the crocodiles and relocates them into different areas away from humans when they're caught, or sharks as well. Um, they were saying that there's been an increase in number of sightings of crocodiles in Salt River itself, and there were like 3 or 4 just last year alone in 2024. But so do some research online, find out that there were actually more sightings as well. One was killed actually on Mandela Highway in November, walking across the road, and that car flipped, injuring the
Mhm.
occupants of that vehicle. And speaking to more experts, a terrestrial biologist, Damian Whitey, was saying, yeah, we're seeing a lot more crocodiles now because of two reasons. linked to climate change. The intense drought that Jamaica is experiencing in 2022, that's just less than 3 years ago, we had the most intense drought that Jamaica has experienced on record. That was said by the agriculture minister in an interview with our news center. And also, with the intense drought, we're also experiencing more intense rainfall. Just last year, we're now in 2025, in 2024, a whole heap of rainfall. Like at the beginning, we had an intense hurricane. Were affected by like two or three intense weather systems, either hurricane or tropical storms, and then a whole heap of tropical depression. Like this rain was just falling consistently for like 3-4 months straight in some parts at the island, like right through. So it's a whole heap of rainfall, so more crocodiles are being displaced when we have these intense rainfalls. And also the crocodiles are displaced when there's a drought as well, because the place some drop, the swamp some drop that the crocodiles usually occupy. So they're now coming closer to where humans would use, which is the rivers and stuff like that. And just like, wow, I'd never thought of this before. And I'd been working on the story before I got accepted into the fellowship. And so I was just like, how can I tie this into the fellowship? Which is why I'd gotten on them so quickly, because I'd already started working on it, and the connection was just there. So it just, synchronicity is the word. Everything kind of just fell into place with that story. And it really did take off, because I actually did 3 stories on that thing. One of them wasn't captured during the period of when I should have dropped it in on the fellowship, but I'd done it because of how timely it was. And I think combined they've gotten probably close to like 100,000 views on TVJ's platforms combined. Just that one story that was done in 3 parts, and in 2 parts as part of the fellowship as well.
Yeah, that's excellent. What were some of the challenges you faced during the investigations and interviews with experts, if any? Because sometimes, even as journalists, I know some people might want to know from you, especially people who watch you on the news, you know what I mean? Like, we have a couple Jamaican journalists in this cycle, and every cycle we have a couple journalists as well. Out of them are up and coming. So what were some of the challenges? Some people don't know what to kind of look forward to, or not look forward to, or what to prepare for, and that kind of thing.
So the truth is, for this one, the experts were pretty willing to speak. So I didn't have a challenge in speaking to the experts, to be very honest. When I contacted NEPA, and I did contact them a little bit last minute from my end, and I was running the story, but I always wanted to get that expert voice in. And they did send me a voice, so I sent them the questions, and they sent me an audio recording, and I put up the picture and they used it. The other 2 experts I spoke with, I went to Salt River, and it was overcast, raining, and they waited, and we spoke with them. They came to the river with me, and they were pointing out some of the actual locations where the crocodiles, are located. So the experts were willing to speak this time. In it, I'm so sorry, somebody just saying hi. So if you see me waving at the ceiling, somebody, oh, go on. Blessings. I have no idea who that is. But,
famous.
Yeah, well, not famous at all. It's just the job. But yeah, to answer the question, there wasn't so much of a challenge in speaking to the experts per se. Where I found was a little bit challenging was from some of the vendors who were at Salt River. They were trying to play down the presence of crocodiles in the river. When you speak to them, they were pretty much admitting it, to say, there's a little bit of an increase and more, but despite the presence of crocodiles, people don't care, they were swimming. And I did ask one of the experts to say, hey, what's happening here? You're saying, these things are dangerous, but the people are saying, they haven't attacked anyone at the river. So what's happening? They're saying, to be fair, the American crocodile, which is what is found in Jamaica, they are among the most docile in the world. They're not seeking to attack people. They're just looking for food. They're attracted to the carcass, or probably a fish or something that have to throw chicken meat in the river. When they're cleaning out the fish, that's the vendors in the river. That's what attracts them. They're not looking to attack humans. In fact, when they see humans, they try to move or they try to hide. you don't really think about seeing a crocodile coming up and say, hey, I'm the big crocodile here. They're always trying to hide or move away from humans. And so it's really humans kind of sometimes provoke them. So while the presence is there, they can be dangerous when humans go and try to interact with them, try to feed them, or try to attack them and provoke them. So that's where the violence will come in. But to answer your question, the challenge was getting some of the vendors, I guess, a bit more open and honest. And also me myself, I like to go right up and see the actual things. But with my life and death, so the challenge in this one was that I didn't get to go and interview a crocodile to get the crocodile started. But I could actually do that in this instance because that would probably be putting my life at risk. But yeah, it was just to try to be fair and complete in this one, but I didn't have a direct challenge in speaking to the expert because they wanted to get the information out there because a lot of people are unaware about the dangers of crocodiles and how it connects with climate change.
Yeah, so interesting. So what are some of the measures the authorities like NEPA are taking to address it? And awareness, you mentioned they're trying, they're very willing because they kind of want to get the message out there.
Yeah, so that's and that's the name of the game, awareness. They're trying to get more people to be aware, and in a very practical sense, it shows us really and truly that climate change is here and impacting us. We're always going to think of climate change as just when the hurricanes are a little bit more intense or the drought, and so it seems very distant and theoretical for a lot of people. But when we put it this way now, you realize, wow, it is already here and impacting us in this very real way that we can see. A big crocodile walked on Mandela Highway and flip over a vehicle. A crocodile was caught on the sidewalk in St. Thomas while I was doing the story as well. And so that's what the authorities are doing. And I think, which is why, again, as I mentioned before, they were willing to speak, they want to get the word out there. And they are preparing now and working on more community-based initiatives, communities that are coastal communities close to where the crocodile habitats, coastal communities right across the south coast in Jamaica, to kind of really make people in these communities more aware of what is happening because of climate change and the fact that they'll be seeing more crocodiles going forward. So they're doing a lot of that now, or at least they say they'll be doing a lot more of that, and they're doing some already, but they'll be doing a lot of public education going forward and to let people know that, hey, reach out to the authorities to kind of come and catch the reptiles if seen, and to kind of warn people to avoid feeding them or provoking them or going near them, because these reptiles can in fact be dangerous if they are provoked. And there are wild animals and they are dangerous. I really don't want to be near them, provoking them at all.
Yeah, completely understand. And it's interesting too. I guess these are the last kind of questions or statement, which is that you mentioned you kind of started the story looking into something a little bit different, and when you realize the connection between climate change, you that's something that you found interesting. I think a lot of people might feel similar because they might not know, just like you said, how climate change connect to some of the real things that's happening. And I think that's part of what our job is as journalists that are reporting in the climate change space, because it's such a big thing. And it's difficult too, like try to tell somebody about COP29 or so, like they don't even know where you're talking. But at the end of the day, when and we pick on COP a lot, for good reason when we use this analogy, but it's just the fact that there's a lot of this jargon and a lot of science around it as well. But like I say, making it relatable, bringing it back to something like a crocodile literally on the highway where it does not belong, like disturbing.
The river where you swim.
Exactly.
Yeah.
These things kind of help people to understand, and it does. The climate change, the more you might end up having this experience as well. And this might be the final question to find out, will you be reporting more on it, and people can tune in for see more of that stuff. But the more you kind of report on it, you realize it really like it had touched every single facet of life. You know, you just have to be kind of open and look upon what happened and to find like the angles and things.
No, absolutely. So I initially come on this fellowship because I wanted the discipline to complete one story that I had from 2 years ago almost. It was from 2023 August. Steve Maxime, he's a Trinidadian journalist, and he's a trainer, he's an expert on climate change, and he speaks about climate change, and he was one of the speakers for one of the sessions that we had.
Mhm.
And he had mentioned it to me at a fellowship I was at in Antigua about how the cars being dumped pretty much for in by the global north in the Caribbean and Latin America are really causing more harm to the environment and contributing to climate change. And I wanted to do the story from that time, but there was always something more pressing that I had to do, and just really wanted to complete it. So I thought to myself, if I applied for the scholarship and I got through, because of what I read about it, having a mentor to keep you accountable, I'll be able to complete this one story. But then, going to the sessions on the Thursdays, every other Thursday or each Thursday so far, I'm getting more interested in the issues, and I'm also understanding the issues. And coincidentally, again, synchronicity. Steve Maxime, who I'd met in 2023 in Antigua, was one of the presenters, and I just used the opportunity at that point during his session to ask him to explain a little bit more about how.
Ready.
Right. So yeah, I'll definitely be doing more climate change related stories going forward, and also connecting some of the issues I report on to climate change to demystify climate change from our viewers. Because one of my duties that I see and that I take really seriously is how do I simplify an issue so that a 7-year-old can understand it. And that's how I try to do my reports. I want to break things down and simplify, but also it's difficult for us as journalists, if we're honest with ourselves, to simplify things that we ourselves don't understand. And a lot of us in this space don't fully grasp the issues around climate change. And to be very honest, and I've said this in some of the sessions, being there in the sessions, having the back and forth, asking questions and things being explained and simplified, I now understand the issues in a way that I did not before, which now makes it easier for me to explain and simplify some of the stories and some of the issues around climate change and how they affect us in our everyday lives to my audience. And already, for that reason alone, this fellowship has been a success for me, even if I don't get to do anything else. And it just makes me very excited. It augurs well for my future as a journalist reporting on climate change, and also for the remainder of the fellowship, because I'm really excited about it. I look forward to just each step going forward. I want to quickly get on my my social media story already. I've been communicating with you, doing different takes on the short term, because I want to get each thing completed. I want to take it seriously because I'm being convinced now in a way that I wasn't before. So already I'm very grateful for this fellowship, and I think it will augur well for my viewers here in Jamaica whenever I do my stories going forward. So yeah, man, big up Climate Tracker for that, definitely.
Yeah, respect. And yeah, I mean, we appreciate that. We appreciate the fact that you've been open to it, and because yeah, it can be difficult sometimes. Sometimes the fellow struggles, anxiety and stuff like that when because there's a lot of information at first, and especially if maybe you're a journalist, but maybe you're not used to reporting on science-related stuff. Like science-related stuff, it's like reading it's like, and trying to figure out. And then your job is simplifying. It's not just understanding. So it is a challenge. But yeah, we appreciate it, and we appreciate you joining us for this episode. We look forward to more of your stories. Yeah. Thank you, viewers, for joining. I will see you in the next episode. Bless.